It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. Today, we are talking about Season 3, Episode 9, The Affair. And of course, as always, I am joined by someone who loves a free sample, Stuart. Stuart, how are you?
I freaking love free samples. Like, why don't supermarkets, I think it's a real big American thing, but UK supermarkets, we don't do it enough. Bring back free samples. Make free samples a big thing over here.
I think that it's less of an American thing and more of a Costco thing. Because, you don't get free samples normally in your average grocery store. It's more of your big, what are they called? Bulk? Like those bulk stores.
Yeah.
So like your Costco's, your BJ's, your Sam's Clubs. Those
BJ's?
They're BJ's Warehouse is a thing.
That would never not be amusing to me. I recently got a Costco membership. That's
so jealous.
I'm so old. I'm so old. I got really excited. But I bought a thing of kimchi that was like bigger than my head. Fantastic. We bought so much crap. It was great. But yeah, did have free samples. Maybe you're actually right there. Maybe I just need to go back to Costco. Maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah, you just have to do the rounds at Costco. Just go in circles and get all the samples over and over again until you're stuffed.
Yeah.
I think that's the move.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, we're talking about The Affair. Not the affair that Stuart thought it would be. Not even sad. Really an affair at all. But we'll talk about it. In the meantime, don't forget, subscribe at Talkin' Shit. Make sure to find us on YouTube because once we hit 200 subscribers, something will happen. Not waterboarding, but something. Haven't established what yet. One day maybe
What's in between waterboarding and wearing wigs? Like, there's got to be a happy medium there. Like, it's both a torture in a way because they were itchy wigs.
They were so itchy.
Yeah. So we need to find something that's in between that. Maybe, I mean, hear me out, wild theory, maybe more on the wig side than the waterboarding side. Who knows?
I think small steps, baby steps, because we need to leave ourselves open to like, okay, what about 300 subscribers?
Yeah.
You know?
How do we do that?
Yeah, exactly. So if you have ideas, email us podcast@talkingshit.com. But let's talk about The Affair. Stuart, broad strokes, what did you think about this episode?
Disappointed that I wasn't correct. I was expecting so much from this episode, and I wonder if maybe my ranking of it might be affected by that, because I was convinced I nailed it last week. And when I didn't even see Bob in this episode, the disappointment was didn't see Bob. There was no jog. There was no actual affair.
Yeah.
What actually happened in this episode?
We've been missing out on the Bob jog this season. And also, might I just point out, I'm going to give myself credit for an incredible poker face for not revealing that you were so incredibly wrong about this episode. Because I did remember what the affair, the supposed affair.
It was nice not to be spoiled for once, Jess. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I do my best. I try my hardest. But yeah, I do think, I remember when we had the episode, was it The Motel Guest, I think is the name of it, or something like that, when Roland shows up at the motel and we get the Roland scene, we had said like, oh yeah, this is fun. Like they have a fun dynamic. So while I thought it was fun to see them have a similar dynamic in this episode and get to see Moira drunk and everything, of course it's like a clickbaity sort of title because there is no affair. And I suppose, Stuart, there is something I want to credit the episode with, and it's that never at any point did Johnny think that Moira slept with Roland. And that is very refreshing for a sitcom, for there not to be like this immediate panic from the husband that, oh my God, my wife slept with someone.
Yeah, it was, surprising that Jocelyn did it, though, in a way. Because I thought
she knows what it's like to be in bed with a naked Roland Schitt, Stuart.
That's a good thing as well. Herself. It's not so much a judgment on the other half and like kind of the betrayal. It's just like they can't help themselves. He's just that ravishing. Like, yeah, that's a bit. Look at that. That's a bit much.
Also, who's surprised to hear that Roland sleeps in the nude? Not me.
Yeah, not surprised at all.
It's always the person that you wouldn't want sleeping in the nude that would. You know?
Anyone who sleeps nude that is listening to this right now is so offended.
Good. Put some clothes. Wow. What if there's an emergency? Put clothes on.
I mean, you're not like... I imagine that people aren't going to bed naked and then having no clothes within like an arm's reach of them, surely.
Well, that's your lesson for the day, people. If you do sleep in the nude, keep a robe or some gym jams next door. You know, you got to have them within an arm's reach because...
Next door?
No, like next door to your bed.
That's the worst place to do it. Imagine having to knock on your neighbors being like, oh God, there's an emergency. I need to get dressed. Like, what the hell?
My pajamas, please. So yeah, I did like that, Jocelyn maybe jumped to some conclusions based on, how she thinks Roland looks nude. But Johnny was very vehemently like, absolutely not. This did not happen. And of course, we also got more Patrick this episode, Stuart.
Yes, it's almost as if he may be a significant recurring character.
Almost. Could be. Who knows? Certainly not me. So, a lot of fun stuff. Let's get into our little recap here at the top of the podcast. It's time for the most illustrious, anticipated event of the season, the Regional Association of Municipalities Conference, aka RAMP.
You can say the
yeah, just like I love anytime Roland said RAMP. Moira becomes the talk of the conference after giving an impassioned speech and earning Schitt's Creek a decent budget, which we love. Unfortunately, she parties a little too hard with the sparkling white Russians. Never should anything that involves milk be sparkling, I think.
Yeah.
I think we need to
Have you ever had like any of those weird drinks where you've got to like cement mixer it in your mouth and then drink it so it doesn't curdle? Yeah. Just don't. They're always horrific.
No, I'm not a big fan of including milk with my alcohol, Well,
like Baileys?
Yeah, I guess that's like cream based, right?
Yeah, cream liqueur, yeah.
I suppose. I've had, what's it called? Like the Ghirardelli, I don't know how to pronounce it. They have like a liqueur that has like a chocolatey taste, but I've only ever like done shooters, not mixed it with a drink.
Yeah, Russian, like that's a whole drink.
It's a whole drink. Ooh. Do you have what's called a power hour over there, Stuart? It's like a very collegey sort of frat.
Hour?
It's called a power hour. And it is where
what is done in a power hour?
So usually I believe a power hour is when you drink a beer it's not every minute. That can't be right. Is it every 10 minutes for an hour?
6 beers in an hour. That's that's called Thursday in the UK.
Here we go. A power hour is a drinking game where players must consume a specified number of alcohol shots within 1 hour. Variants include one shot of beer every minute for an hour. So a shot of beer every minute, but I don't know how many shots are in one beer bottle. I don't know how many that would equate to, but that's still a lot. That's 60 shot glasses of liquid.
How many shots are in a pint? Because I deal in pints because I'm in the UK.
Sorry.
A US... Oh, wait. Oh, my God. Google, don't give me US pints.
Google's like, absolutely not. You're not in the UK. You're in the US.
Okay. 12 shots for one imperial pint, as it's referred to. So that would be... Okay. Math this out.
5
pints an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's easy. Surely.
Okay, this is fair. This is a very fair assessment. I've not done a power hour. This is based off of my boyfriend at the time and his friend were doing this. However, Stuart, they did not play with beer. Nay, they played with White Russians.
Wow. That's a choice.
A lot of vomiting happened after
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of milk.
Yeah. And spirits.
And spirits.
Cut this out.
Yeah.
This is probably the best tangent that we've gone on mid-recap. I'm just going to say.
I'm sorry, I'm not even done with the recap yet. Okay. So, Moira parties too hard, has too many sparkling White Russians, ends up sleeping in Roland's bed. Joss with an eyelash just full on pasted on her forehead.
Yeah.
I loved it. Jocelyn assumes the worst. After all, who can resist a naked Roland Schitt? But Johnny knows better than to think Moira would ever sleep with Roland. Meanwhile, David and Alexis, but mostly David, are setting up his new shop. They've sourced local handmade goods to sell on consignment. That is, if Alexis would stop sampling the products. Every time. She's just sticking her fingers in products. Ridiculous.
She flattened down the lip gloss. It'll be fine.
She has her sights set on Patrick, but when he offers her nothing in return, she surmises he's either about to be married, and I love that is he is either about to be married, not yet married, but about to be married, or he's gay. So, or he really, really likes the shop, which by the end of the episode, he's offering to help David get some small business grants and deal with the more businessy side of things. So, could be romantic, could be just business.
¿Por qué no los dos?
And that was our episode, Stuart.
I thought it was a good episode. Admittedly, I had super high expectations. I was expecting serious Bob drama. I felt denied. But in an episode that really only has 2 story plots, going through the whole thing, usually we've been having 3, sometimes 3.5, 4. To have 2, I was like, ooh, this is going to have to really kind of go with it. And I thought it did really well. I didn't ever feel like we focused on any one plot for too long. There were some weird things where we cut to the same story beat, but just later on, the editing was a bit weird towards the end. When when Ronnie had, why is my brain going today? Roland came to talk to Johnny, and then it cut to then Johnny and Moira in bed, and I was like,
yes, agree.
That's just a bit jarring. So maybe that could have benefited from a third story. Maybe they cut it out. I don't know. I'm kind of getting that vibe from the episode. But even from 2, I thought it kind of did really well.
Yeah, especially for one of the plot lines where half of it doesn't even take place in Schitt's Creek, right? They're in a whole different town in a new setting. That can sometimes be jarring in a show, in a sitcom type show where you're used to the same sets and places. I loved getting to see Moira get a little drunk, and also I have to give credit to Roland here. I think he's correct in terms of, no, let's go network. Let's go get the drinks. People are excited about you. We need to capitalize on that. And I do think Roland was in the right there. Moira wanted to just go up to her room, but I agree with Roland. I think it could only benefit the town and the people in it by networking more with possibly some people who have influence, especially because I really don't think Roland was much, was super influential, given that he kept mistaking mayors for cater waiters. So
yeah, maybe do a bit more networking, Roland, and maybe learn people's names and what they look like. Maybe don't just assume that someone in the waistcoat is someone important, especially when you're in an area that has catering, because that won't serve you really well. In this situation, I would totally be a Moira, I think, in terms of just wanting to go straight up to my room. I would want my chance at a proletarian oasis. But yeah, Roland is right. You really should go and network at these things. I've been to things like this. You go to a hotel. Thankfully, I haven't had to stay over, but where you go to a hotel meeting room thing for training or whatever, and then you have this awkward after thing where you get to network, and I hate it. so much.
Yeah.
So I can see why she would want to avoid it. But these lot seem like an absolute ball. Like, they are drunk as a skunk, like almost seemingly even when they're approaching Moira congratulating her, they're like straight in with the party vibes straight away. So this must be like their one excuse to like blow off steam, right?
I totally agree. Yeah. I have been not in this exact situation, obviously, but in a situation like it where oftentimes at my previous job, I would have to travel and go visit like a home office of sorts, stay at a hotel, and I would be exhausted from just the socializing at the office and then be expected to like go out to dinner with these people, and all I wanted to do was take a bath in my hotel room. Like I would go in my hotel room, immediately get out of my work clothes, put on pajamas, and not leave said room. Like I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to talk to anyone. But Moira, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, seems a little more social than probably the two of us. You know, she talks about, what was it? They held the non-televised People's Choice Awards at her house, you know, like this is her thing, especially getting attention, admiration.
Yeah.
Is very much Moira's thing. So ultimately, I think she had a great time until she wakes up face down next to Roland and has a very large reaction to it. You know, she doesn't tell Johnny right away, which is what Johnny's biggest problem is with it. He's like, you didn't tell me. I had to be told by Jocelyn and try to comfort Jocelyn, who's pouring chocolate sauce all over her entire breakfast. Such a mood. Like, the funniest thing to me, Stuart, is like Jocelyn finds out this information. Instead of what maybe some of us would do if we're depressed, which is like eat something unhealthy at home, cocoon in our bed at home, she's like, nah, I'm gonna go out in public with some sunnies on, pour chocolate sauce on some breakfast at the cafe, and get noticed.
No, she's wearing sunnies. Like, no one who wants to get noticed wears sunnies, right?
She's practically invisible.
It's a safe space, exactly. If you're that upset, you don't want to cook. You want to go somewhere where you are cooked for. But it was a vibe. Chocolate sauce on that breakfast.
It was like a savory breakfast. Like it wasn't like chocolate chip pancakes. It was like eggs and sausage.
Yeah. And I'm already a bit iffy on Americans putting syrup on like savory breakfast things. So chocolate sauce is a step even further.
Can I tell you my little I make a really good egg sandwich, okay? I am bragging, but it's worthy of the brag. I love an egg Sammy. What I'll do, so you could do an English muffin. Honestly, you could kind of do anything you want in terms of your bread. I usually do an English muffin if I have them. You toast the English muffin, you butter it. Meanwhile, you get your little sausage patty thing ready. You do your little scrambled eggs, add in milk. If you don't have milk, sour cream, even like Greek yogurt, anything creamy based, mix that in with the eggs. It makes them extra creamy. A little bit of cheese. Here's the trick though. On your egg Sammy, on the bread part, on the English muffin part, after you butter it, throw a tiny bit of sweetness. It could be a little bit of jam or a little bit of maple syrup.
Jam?
A little bit.
Maple syrup I can understand because it's a flavored sweet, but it's more neutral than fruit.
Yes. It sounds crazy. It's so good. And it's just a tad, just a dash. And it's this little bit of sweetness and it elevates it. It elevates the egg Sammy.
Why can you all not just have savory breakfasts? I was expecting you to be like, I've got this like bold food idea, and for me to kind of like scoff at it as you go, sriracha. And I'm like, oh, sriracha and eggs. Oh, wonderful. What a choice. But that would have made so much more sense than jam. I'm
telling you, it's good. It's good. It's just
I've made many threats about quitting this podcast. I think this is the most
it's the final
I've
straw.
meant it. Yeah. Send in your applications to podcasts at Talking Shit.
But anyway, that's why did we start? Oh, right, the savory. Yeah, Jocelyn's breakfast is very strange, and I have to admit that I didn't realize it was chocolate sauce until she said it was chocolate sauce.
Yeah.
I thought it was maple syrup, especially because we're in Canada, so I just assume everyone's eating maple syrup all the time anymore.
Oh yeah, I assume that every liquid I see is maple syrup on this show.
Exactly. I did love Jocelyn's breakdown about this, though. Like, I appreciated that she was so bent out of shape.
Yeah, like it speaks to her. Like, absolutely, she loves Roland, and no one understands it except her. But she like adores the guy, and she clearly thinks that he is like everything. Like, even when she's talking about it, it's like I can just imagine her with her mitts all over. Like, she genuinely thinks that the guy is irresistible.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me wonder if maybe she might be part blind, but then it's also his personality that goes with it. So
yeah,
it's just awkward.
She just loves him. She just loves him.
But it speaks to that. Like, it speaks to like how much she does, and it's kind of sweet in its own way. And I love the fact that she is so cut up about it. Like, the fact that she has to come to the cafe, she has to get a big breakfast and smother it in chocolate. Like, she's grieving. She's sad.
And this is the dash of like jealousy that I can appreciate on a show. It's when it goes like 20 steps too far that I'm like, come on. Like, I appreciate that this was all the quote unquote like jealousy, believability that was in the episode. Beyond that, it was Johnny being like upset Moira didn't even tell him. And of course, also upset that she's just dumping out all his beer when he walks in. It's symbolic, John.
So ridiculous. I think Moira, in this whole scenario, because like her reaction to when she woke up was just hilarious. Clearly had regret despite having done nothing. I mean, she woke up fully clothed in the clothes that she was wearing the previous night. And given Moira's outfits, I don't imagine that it's like single layers. Like, she is multi-layered up with all this. Like,
Roland can't even get Moira's clothes off. Let's be honest. Like,
he doesn't have the brain function to deal with all the buttons. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was kind of confused about is later on when Roland does have a conversation with Johnny about this with his 6 friends. He says, I'm 99% sure. And it's like, you weren't even the one that was drunk. You should be 100% sure.
Yeah, but he did only spend 35 minutes this morning inspecting himself.
He did have a weird cut on his foot that he wasn't sure if it was already there.
But there were no bite marks, back scratches, lipstick prints, which again speaks to his whole relationship with Jocelyn, because they be freaky.
They are freaky, and this is not a kink shaming podcast, but again, the tchotchkes, there are things happening in that house.
Okay, do you know what would make this entirely like so much better? Is if we had seen like Moira fleeing out of the room and then the camera just slowly pans over to a DVD that's hanging out of a DVD player and you see like The Devil Wears Prada or some other Meryl Streep film. And then it just leaves us going, what the hell? Like, did they? Because that's their thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a MyLowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe's Rewards. Because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
horrendous.
So that's the Moira, Roland, Johnny storyline. It's pretty funny. Again, I appreciate the fact that it was never really a question of whether or not Moira and Roland slept together, more of just the fallout of it.
Yeah.
I really love the David and Alexis stuff this episode. Anytime David and Alexis are being especially siblingy, I just appreciate the realism of it, where Alexis is so not helping, and like she's not lifting boxes, she's sampling all of the products, which aren't samples. And what's worse is she has this like almost condescending attitude because she is in a high school economics class. She's just like, I know this now. Like, actually, David, like, this is, what is she called? This is called sweat labor. Like, she knows everything now. And I would be so supremely frustrated if I were David.
I think you'll find it sweat equity, and then she can outsource Patrick to do it. I thought that Alexis wasn't actually being that bad in this whole situation, because at the beginning, David just assumes that she's there to help him out and just kind of forces her to come along with this after like the whole debacle over who has signed out the car and stuff. And then she's there clearly wanting to show off her newfound knowledge, saying things like consolidating all your products under one label instills brand recognition and creates synergy. And then what does he do? Slaps her down and makes fun of her. Girl's learning. Be positive towards her here, David. He's a bit of a dick there.
That's fair. That's fair. But also, she's not even lifting boxes. Like, she won't even be carrying things. And she's spending the entire time just flirting with Patrick's like, oh, sorry, my hands are so soft. They're probably too soft. Like, it's just...
But even by her own admission, she's been sampling a lot of product. Like, she admits it, at least.
Yeah. My favorite Alexis moment by far this episode is watching her highlight her entire textbook.
So funny. So relatable as well, because there's like... I remember, like, back in high school and stuff, I would do a similar kind of thing where I'd highlight too much. And it wouldn't be a case of highlighting it. It'd just be more reminding myself, yes, I have read that.
Yeah.
And working my way through, which kind of was pointless.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It was so good. I do love that Alexis is learning. Like, I will give her credit. Like, it seems like I didn't like David's comment of like, are you passing this economics class? Because it's like obvious that she's retaining things from the economics class.
Yeah,
maybe not to the point where she's ready to open a business of her own. But I thought that Jared in our Discord made a great point of some of what Patrick says here would sound so condescending if it weren't for Noah Reed being so damn charming and pulling it off. Because he does kind of be like, David, like, that's a lot of overhead. You should be prepared to not make any money for a whole year. And it's like, maybe don't say that when he's on the verge of opening his store.
Yeah, but I mean, I think in his own way, he's trying to warn against, obviously, like, David failing, and like he's actually trying to be helpful, which again is kind of really endearing. But also, said in a very charming way, and also giving Alexis an opportunity to like jump in, and then they can kind of tease him in a sibling way as well, kind of really ingratiates him a little bit. Again, something's definitely going to happen with like I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
But
I loved him giving, because he comes over, oh, here's your business license, and they all come framed. Turns out they don't, and he picked out the frame. And I love that David just turns around and is like, okay, so we know I'm going to be dealing with the aesthetics and those types of things. And I thought that was so fun. There's a familiarity there when you can joke around with a person like that. I feel like automatically there's not necessarily intimacy, but comfortability. To be able to joke like that.
Yeah, I think I've even said it on this podcast, like, people are the worst, the ones that they kind of love the most. And I think when you immediately get into that kind of like teasing banter with someone, I think you initially know that you're going to get on with them like a house on fire. And I think especially when they're kind of like, David, I swear, I don't think I've seen David more activated as to when at the end Patrick is like, oh, I'm going to get the money. I honestly flooded his basement right then and there. Like, he was absolutely on board, I think, from that statement alone.
Let me just tell you, like, Patrick was so confident.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm gonna get the money, and it's like,
yeah,
like
it wasn't dude bro bragging. It was just being like, no, I'm confident in what I do. I'm good at what I do, and also I'm getting money. Money to David is like cha-ching, like one and the same, like love language. So yeah, I don't think he could have said anything better to kind of like win over David in that whole scenario. But I love the fact that they're getting involved in the business side of things, because that's always been the concern, is that David isn't going to be able to manage the business aspect, especially after what Moira revealed, that they had been kind of like bankrolling him essentially with the patrons. So having that stability is a really good thing. And we know that Patrick is like a serious business person because he works for Ray, and Ray is the king of business.
Ray is a businessman, obviously. So
with several business plans.
He's the best photographer around. I agree, and I love that they did get into the nitty-gritty of like, okay, these are local handmade goods. We're selling them on consignment, all under my brand. First of all, it's ingenious. It's really inventive and creative, and it's helpful for the whole town. So it's like, it's such a great business idea. I like that it wasn't just a matter of like, David's just going to open a general store. Like it actually has like purpose, meaning, it's thoughtful. And I like that realistically, like, sure, maybe you feel some vibes between Patrick and David. But it also makes sense from a business perspective for Patrick to be interested in this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it makes perfect sense for him to want to like invest time, money, energy into a local business that he thinks will succeed.
Yeah, especially one that's going to provide like stable employment. And he's also like, it's almost giving him, he's earning his own employment as well, because if he doesn't get the grants, he doesn't get the job. So he has to kind of like, it's not like he's being given something. It's not like Alexis with Ted and that whole kind of like beholden kind of like sense of like the job being given. But the way in which I think their dynamic could really work is like the whole kind of split of creativity and business. And then that with along with what you said, which of like, the business contributing back to the community and actually like kind of building up these local producers, getting them sales that they ordinarily wouldn't get, while also building themselves for brand recognition and also establishing a really good story in Schitt's Creek. Like the whole thing, absolutely everything about this, I love and have no massive concerns for, except, did they get enough foot traffic in Schitt's Creek?
Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah, it's a small town. However, when you think about the fact that, because normally you'd be like, well, it's a small town, there aren't many big cities nearby. But when you think about the fact that these are being made by like local farmers, right? Like it's like, okay, we have whatever they're producing is made. Okay, we're using beeswax that we got from a local bee farm. I don't know, bee farm? Is that a thing? You know what I mean? Like it does work with a rural community. I think you're right, though. The question is, will they get enough customers? I think you'd be relying on repeat customers in a town like Schitt's Creek. You need regulars. You need someone who is like, this is my favorite lip balm. I will come and buy more lip balm, you know?
Unless your mother, who works on the town council, had just secured a massive amount of funding for the town to spend on tourism advertising and gets the tourists.
There you go.
And then you had a father who is, oh my God, who works in the motel where they could all stay. It's all coming together.
I know what it is. David at the register. David has his drink on a coaster. And that coaster, come to the local Schitt's Creek motel, baby. You know where they need to find
us on Facebook.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you know where they need to find them?
Follow us on Tweeters.
Tweeters. So happy. Tweeters.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I love that so much.
So yeah, overall, I thought this episode was a really fun episode. I think I like that we're establishing David's store. That feels like a step forward. I mean, it could. We also don't know where Ramp is gonna go, right? Like, what is gonna happen with this money? It seems like Moira and Roland have gotten a better budget for Schitt's Creek. So where will we see that kind of implemented? What will change in the town as a result? Yeah, overall, I thought it was like a pretty fun episode.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Again, it's one of these ones that I think when we're talking about the broad story, it's easy to kind of go, but there was a lot of these like small moments, which again, when you're like cutting between things, usually they use as like transitional scenes. Whereas with this, there were a lot of these small gags just thrown in amongst everything. So I think there's a lot to kind of like miss on this, but despite having the two stories, it was like it still felt dense. It still had those things thrown in there, so it didn't feel as if it was just kind of like spreading out the story too thin, which I really appreciated.
Also, this seems kind of silly, especially because Catherine O'Hara is like a national treasure, but she's such a great actor when it comes to playing drunk. Like it was so funny, and I loved everyone booing Johnny, and he's like, "Why are they booing me?
Yeah,
what did I do?"
So good. When she put down the receiver, and then it turned out it was tangled along her, and then she just pulled it off again. It's
perfect.
So freaking good.
Yeah.
Moira had some great moments, like "ha ha, very droll, Mr. Rose." Like when he's like, "Oh, it's just me." It's like, oh, it's so good. Yep. The pair of them are just, their dynamic is fantastic. Like we've been screaming about like the chemistry between a lot of these actors like for a hell of a lot, but occasionally I just get reminded that Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy have the best chemistry of everyone because they have worked with each other for so long, and it's like I really believe that they are married.
Yeah, they're the steady couple that you just don't. That's why this storyline, you're never concerned that like that Moira would actually cheat on Johnny, or you know what I mean? Like they're just such a stable couple that it's never anything you actually have to worry about, which is so comforting in a show like this, because you know shows love to like mix and match pairs and let's cause drama for drama's sake. This is not that show.
Yeah, and I appreciate it because like I mean we. Not to bring things really down, but like it's been a rough couple of weeks in the world lately. And to have a show where you can jump into it and just have nice, good vibes and not have to worry about, are they going to toe the line and not do what many shows do, which is rely on horrible tropes and awful caricatures. They're going to do it in a teasing but still respectful way, and you don't have to worry about them coming out with something that, like, I don't know, an uncle at a family get together is going to say that it's going to make you get really angry. Yeah. Like, it's so good that you don't have to be worried. Yeah, it's great.
All right, let's get into some of our feedback here. Trish says, I love the turnaround with David's attitude to Alexis taking samples here compared to how he was in the Blouse barn, sampling all sorts of things. So true. Everything was a write-off. Everything was a write-off. Well, it's different when it's your own money, David, isn't it?
But you just write it off.
You just write it off.
Yeah. It's so great. Like, come-uppance. Like, you see where, like, kind of where you once were, and now you kind of get to experience it. Yeah. Have taste your own medicine, David.
David letting Patrick join the business, I think, is a very wise move, as David really needs his skills. I would agree with that. I think he could use the business acumen for sure.
Yeah, I don't doubt that David could pick it up and would be good at it, but having someone that you can just throw into that kind of role and then you can worry about the good things, like the creative side of things, brilliant. And also it's good to have like a second opinion of like pushing you back against some absurd ideas. As someone that has gone into a 2-person partnership on the podcast, I can certainly attest to that.
Listen, we don't know yet how many birds, like bird statues David wants in his store. Any more than 3 and he's in trouble, I think. I think he needs to limit himself this time.
Yeah.
No leather ponchos, I think. I don't know how you're going to get locally sourced leather ponchos. Anyway.
I mean, I think he's probably sold the entire market of leather ponchos that exist.
That's true. Everyone who wants one has one, David. Okay? Yeah. We got an email from Libby. I'd been thinking about this a few episodes ago, but it was too early to share. I think we're far along enough now that it shouldn't be too spoilery. You guys were saying in season 2 that Stevie didn't really do anything, and I tend to agree. Honestly, I feel like the first 2 seasons were very much the Johnny and Moira show, which isn't to undercut David and Alexis. David in particular had a lot of great moments, like helping Wendy negotiate with the Blouse House Australia, but they were secondary by comparison. Stevie was sort of a foil to Twyla, a more cynical introduction to the town, in contrast to Twyla's being sunny and peppy. Except unlike Twyla, she plays a major role in David's life, so I think it stood out more that she wasn't really doing anything. Anyway, in season 3, we see David and Alexis with bigger story arcs, and Stevie has more of a story herself, while still getting to be David's snarky voice of reason. I can't say anything else, but this is definitely where I became more invested in all 3 characters the first time I watched. Looking forward to tomorrow's episode.
I love that. That's absolutely true. Like the whole Stevie and Twyla kind of thing. It does make me wish though that we got more Twyla and Alexis, and like having the kind of opposites there of like them having a friend in the town and stuff. But yeah, completely true to that. Twyla is the same as Stevie, but also the antithesis at the same time.
I love that. I've never, and this is why it is so fun to rewatch this series, because you're always picking up on new things. That is so spot on that Stevie and Twyla are kind of polar opposites, and the town needs them both. Like the show needs them both. Like sometimes you need a little bit of sunshine from Twyla. Sometimes you need a little bit of a reality slap from Stevie. I think both of them work really well. And I love that we have the polar opposites being friends with the siblings, right? Like you have like David and Stevie, and then a smaller friendship between Alexis and Twyla.
Yeah, completely.
It's so fun. All right. If you want to send in feedback, podcast@talkinshit is a way to do so. You can find us on all social media @talkinshit. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and find us on tweeters. Just kidding. Tweeters sucks now. Let's get into our ratings, Stuart. How did you find this episode? Is it easy to pick someone who is simply the best?
Not really. I was kind of struggling. I mean, as we have established last week, I mean, like Patrick's a viable pick. So I'm going to go with Patrick for my MVP this week.
Okay.
I kind of like the fact that, like, turned up, he has been sort of like, he's carved this out. He's teasing David a little bit as well. He's putting up with cat hair scarves despite being allergic. Huh? David, I'm not on board with that. That's horrendous. Get rid of it.
It just sounds gross. And I know it's like you're sourcing, like it's fine. I don't know why it grosses me out more than like wool does. But it does, and I can't explain why.
Why is that?
I think it's because it's just unexpected. It's just a little. I used to know someone who would. Growing up, I had a golden retriever, and we would give her the gold, like when we would brush the dog and all the hair. We would put it in a bag and we bring it to her because she would loom it and make it into yarn, which then she would make things with.
It sounded very witchy up until you said like she'd loom it. I was like,
she wasn't a witch.
A component for a spell? Did it go in a cauldron?
She put a raven's hair or raven's feather in, a little bit of oregano, and suddenly we were all hypnotized.
That classic witch ingredient, oregano.
Rat's eyes. And oregano. Some of it has to be easy to find, Stuart, okay? We all can get oregano locally.
How about you? Who's your MVP?
Yeah. I agree. I am going to give it to Patrick. I waffled a little bit between Patrick and David, mostly because I'm really happy for David, I think is what it is. Like, I want to give him the point because I'm so happy for him that like his shop is being set up, and I love the business idea. Mostly the point would have been towards the actual idea itself. I think is so brilliant. But something about Patrick going to a store and picking out a frame and framing the business license and giving it to them is so freaking sweet. I just had to. I had to give it to Patrick.
Even if he does have bad frame taste.
I mean, it is kind of ugly. It's like very a silver frame. Like you could have gone black, Patrick. Come on now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Disgruntled Pelican. The thing is, I'm not going to do anything crazy. I promise. I think for a second you could be like, Jocelyn, really? You're like overreacting a bit. I won't do this to Jocelyn. Mostly because I found her to be hilarious. But Roland definitely.
Stop amending those reviews, people.
Roland is getting my disgruntled pelican point because I just think like the conversation with Johnny at the end of the episode is like so completely unnecessary. And really, like, why? What even was the purpose of that besides to upset people? Also, I just don't like it that he always invites himself to sit on their bed. Like, stop. That's not your place. Sit on a chair.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Sometimes I like it when we agree. Sometimes I don't. But I like it today because, Roland is absolutely getting it for a similar reason. Except when he did sit on their bed, he cracked open a beer and spilt most of it on the floor and the bed at the same time. And I was enraged by that. I was like, come on, buddy. It's just so awkward. But then I feel bad because Ramp is still the funniest thing. Like when Moira's having her breakdown, she's like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. He's like, welcome to Ramp. It's so good. He's Roland has his moments where he reminds you as to what character he is, and this was it. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's no wigs, unfortunately. I feel like Ramp could have used a wig or two.
Yeah.
Like that. I feel like
could we have not seen Moira's, like, even the end speech of like all the people just jumping to her feet and applauding, and her being there with like a good wig, and then cut to the next scene and her not wearing it? Like I feel like we didn't see the good thing. Yeah.
If she's gonna go to an event, she should be dressed for said event, and I think that includes a wig. I was a little bit upset that we didn't have one, but maybe next episode. In the meantime, we have to tier rank this episode. As a reminder, our tiers are as follows: hot shit, full bouquet, love that journey for me, you, David, and shit out of luck. Stuart, do you have any inclination as to where this episode should fall?
About the middle, maybe. I'm like, it's not a particular, like, I don't think it's an episode that I'm gonna really remember. I think it's just a perfectly good episode. So I'm thinking like proper middle of the road, like love that journey for me.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was almost thinking it maybe goes below General Store, but above Rooms by the Hour. I think it's better. I think the Moira, Johnny, Roland story is better in this episode than it is in Rooms by the Hour, where like Johnny is accidentally renting out rooms to sex workers. But I think General Store might be a tad bit above this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, certainly. I was just weighing it up because I was thinking like Rooms by the Hour at least had like a bit more Stevie. But then it did have that cringe of Johnny being like dumb and stuff. And like I say that as if it's a negative thing. It was hilarious in the moment and stuff. But I think also this one has heart as well, because you've got like weirdly Johnny and Moira are very sweet in it, despite like kind of being on the rocks a little bit. Jocelyn's hilarious with her reaction, and then the whole David, Alexis, and Patrick whole thing. I think they had a grin like ear to ear like every time. So yeah, I can see it going above that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So let's put it into
that journey for me.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah, we're gonna take it away from you one day.
Never. My cold dead hands. Would you like to hear what next week's episode is titled? I'm interested to hear what you think this is going to be about. Season 3, episode 10, Sebastian Rain.
How am I meant to have a reaction?
Exactly.
Maybe former, like it sounds like a media name. Like it sounds
like a pop star
showy.
sort of name.
When I was thinking like actor, I was thinking maybe former colleague of Moira.
Okay.
Like Sebastian Rain or something. Kind of sounds a bit porny as well. Like, I don't know, maybe the porn star rents out a room in the motel or something.
Porny. Yeah. I thought you said Pawnee. Like
Pawnee. Like a certain
Pawnee.
show that wow, yeah.
Also, I do need to ask you now. What is Ariel's crab friend's name?
Sebastian.
Interesting. Okay. I say Sebastian.
Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian.
But it's Sebastian.
Is it? Wait, always? Or does it depend on the spelling?
I don't know.
Well, because okay, I need to look up Sebastian under the sea. So I'll just Google it because I don't know. Okay, so this Sebastian the crab. He's a crab, right? Not a lobster. I think he's a crab.
Crab, although he's red. But then crabs
are red.
Yeah, but they're like pinky red. Like lobsters, I think of more red.
Oh, well, now I need to Google, is Sebastian a crab or a lobster? Everyone Googles this, so I feel good without this. He is a red Jamaican crab. There you go.
Okay.
Where was I going with this? Oh, Sebastian's name.
Where were you going with this?
Is spelled differently than this Sebastian. So Sebastian under the sea, the crab, is IAN. This Sebastian is IEN. That's why I was wondering if it's
Sebastian.
Yeah. Sebastian. I'm just okay. I didn't have a misspelling on the title of the episode.
We've now said this name so much that it's losing all meaning in my mind.
Yeah. And also the name Sebastian really doesn't have many good nickname potential. It's like Seb. Or Bastion.
Bastion?
It's bad.
No.
Anyway, that's next week's episode. What do you think? So you think it is a former colleague of Moira's?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely story. Like former actor colleague, maybe from Sunrise Bay, maybe has tracked her down. I don't know why. Maybe they're just in the area. Who knows?
Just traveling through Schitt's Creek.
Maybe it's one of Alexis's former like boy toys, like one of the ones that got into trouble or something.
Is that the names of the
that was one of them, but like there were many, I'm sure. Yeah,
there were multiple Stavros.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll be next week's episode. In the meantime, follow us at Talkin' Schitt. Follow us. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you want something to happen. Not water burning, but something. And next time we'll be back with Season 3, Episode 10. And until then, everyone, warmest regards.
And best wishes.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Build up to Black Friday with savings all month long at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances. Plus take an additional 10% off when you buy select major appliances. And don't wait to pick up holiday inflatables under $20. Don't wait to save, in-store or online now, because Lowe's knows deals. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details and qualifying items while supplies last.